I think this next one, look, I mean, I'm sure everyone will agree, right? There's a lot of confusion in the market broadly around what ABM is. And, there's so many different vendors and providers and platforms. And, why would one make sense? Why other doesn't make sense? So obviously we're delighted you chose us, but, maybe Jason and Ricky, if you can talk a little bit about, what were your key considerations and why did you decide to go partner with us?
Absolutely. I'll kick that off, and then I'll hand it to Ricky to add in any necessary details. But once we did, like I mentioned on the previous slide, determine that ABM was the strategy or one of the strategies that we thought really made a lot of sense for Docupace and got that buy-in, then it was, okay, which ABM ad platform do we think works best for us? So Ricky went through a pretty exhaustive process of vetting out different options, determining which ones he thought made the most sense, and then eventually whittling it down to about the top 5. So once he whittled it down to the top 5, that's when Salted Stone got involved as well with Ricky. And we had extensive calls with all 5 vendors. Some of them we had follow-up calls with. We dug into a lot of their documentation and a lot of their technical requirements and things like that. And really what it came down to when we selected Kwanzoo and why we've been so pleased and happy with Kwanzoo as an ABM partner was one, that open architecture and open data sources. So as you can kind of see in the graphic there, Kwanzoo doesn't just rely on one data provider or doesn't rely on some kind of hidden, mysterious data provider. Kwanzoo is very transparent and open about its data providers, uses a number of different data providers. And so that was a definite differentiator for us because some of the vendors we spoke with were maybe a little cagey about which data providers they used or didn't use, or maybe some of them only use one data provider. And so we really appreciated that Kwanzoo uses multiple data providers and was open and transparent about who those data providers were. The next point there, obviously the full service ABM. So there's some providers we talked to and they had a decent ad platform and they had some good capabilities, but it was completely self-serve. So the time it would have taken to implement and kind of get the ad campaign up and running and all those different types of things just didn't necessarily make the most sense ROI-wise. Whereas Kwanzoo not only had the ad platform, but they also helped implement and execute all of the ads on their end as well. So that was another very attractive component to us. The reporting and analytics was also definitely key. We'll get into that a little bit more as we go through the presentation. But some of the providers we looked at had very limited or basic reporting capabilities, whereas Kwanzoo's reporting capabilities were quite robust and gave us a lot of the data and information that we were seeking. And then lastly, the customer success and support. Mani's team has been very pleasant to deal with, very on top of things, very responsive, and been able to handle all of the needs that we've had throughout the process. And we were able to identify that very early on in the early sales conversations with Kwanzoo. Ricky, anything you want to add there?
Yes, yeah. So I definitely echo Jason's comments on all items he just talked about. A few other things for us also on the Docupace side is that for Kwanzoo, they were very transparent on what they can do, what they can deliver, and they wanted to make sure we were successful. They were all in for doing a pilot, and they made it very simple and easy for us to get up to speed. And Mani was always available for us from the very beginning as well. So we were very appreciative of that. And then for us, as we're considering for the pilot, we do have a very targeted audience. And so for us, we wanted to make sure that we had the right third-party data providers, and with the open architecture and the open data sources, that gave us the best opportunity to prove that ABM would be a successful strategy for us. So those are the few other things that we were looking at when we chose Kwanzoo.